Live from the world center of racing, it's time to welcome race fans, one and all, back to Green Flag TV, where this afternoon we get set to welcome a new championship to the roster on Friday nights. Welcome to the Prodigy Racing Association's Revlimit Workshop Pro Series. My name is Noel Ramble alongside Derek Watson. We are bringing you all of racing action from start to finish on this Friday afternoon. It is the Daytona 200 coming at you in just a few moments. Derek, Daytona needs no introduction. It's Daytona. Everybody knows this place. Whether you're in the sports car scene, the club racing, the bike racing scene, and most importantly, the stock car scene. It's home of the Great American Race, and winning here means something special.
It really does. I mean, look at it. We're here in January, coming into February. It's really Daytona season, right? As you said, no matter what kind of racing you're into, stock cars, sports cars, whatever have you, we're all going to spend a lot of time at Daytona the next couple months, commentating, racing, spectating, what have you. So here we are at this iconic complex, 2.48 miles in track length. We all know everything about it. It's actually one of those weird places to commentate because there's really nothing we could tell you that you don't already know about the players. We can use all the analogies, we can go through all the cliches and the metaphors you've heard 100 times, but at the end of the day, it's just about having fun and racing hard. And that's what we're going to do tonight, Nolan. We're going to race here. The Prodigy Racing Association, their Revlimit series, is bringing the B-class cars, the Xfinity cars here. Maybe the trickiest ones with how the bump draft works.
It's going to be extremely unique to see how this race pans out, especially since this is one of the smaller fields that we see when it comes to super speedway racing. Only about 12 or so cars have registered for today's proceedings, but that can still put on a darn good show at Daytona. You're going to have 6 rows of a lot of energy that's going to be ripping around this 2.5 mile speedway. And it's going to make for something truly spectacular. And if you do want to join these guys, you can do so by scanning the QR code that's on the top right of the screen, right next to the Green Flag TV logo. That links directly to their Discord server, and they will be more than happy to take you on board. They race every other Friday this afternoon. Their current schedule, when we take a look at how the season as a whole is going to pan on out, we kick things off today at Daytona. We'll swing out next week to the Michigan International Speedway, the 2-mile behemoth. It's the Legacy layout that we're racing at. Then in February, only 2 races on. We got Phoenix and Kansas on the 7th and the 21st. March on the 7th and the 21st, you'll be swinging to upstate New York, and then, of course, to America's home for motorsports, Watkins Glen, followed up by Charlotte Motor Speedway. The lone short track on the schedule, Iowa Speedway, serves the penultimate round on April 4th, and then the Legacy Texas Motor Speedway will close things out on April 18th as well. So there's a lot that's going to be in store for us here this afternoon, and a lot that could be up over the next 8 races or so coming on up.
Yeah, and the key thing about that, the 8-race schedule that comes to my mind, Nolan, is really every race is going to be critical for the points, because if you want to race for points in this league, you can't miss many opportunities. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. A single bad race, or maybe even 2 bad races, and you may find yourself really on the outs of this points title. We're currently, right now, the drivers are wrapping up single car qualifying. Pretty, I guess, traditional Daytona style format to an extent. We're going to let them qualify right now. That's happening. And then we're going to go and do a 10-lap duel. Now, as far as you and I are aware, there'll be a single duel that's going to set, I guess that's going to set the running order for the race. And then we're going to do a 60-lap race here. So a bit of a fun format to open this league up and to kind of, I think that 10-lap race could be a real trendsetter for how the 60-lapper goes.
I think it will as well. Now, granted, 10 laps, a lot can happen in 10 laps, and there's going to be quite a bit of beating and banging going on in that 10-lap run as well. But like you said, it's the first chance we can really see these guys on the racetrack. We can see how the aggression is going to be when the pressure's up, when they don't have the time to sit back and just play it safe like you will be able to in the 60-lap race that'll be coming up immediately after that. It makes for a very interesting dynamic.
It really does. I was thinking to myself earlier, what would I do with this 10-lapper? And I think I would honestly use it as a bit of a science experiment. I want to see what I can do. I don't care how big this field is. I might purposely, like if I qualify to the front of the 10-lapper, I might fall to the back and see if I can get myself back to the front in 10 laps. Let me see what I can do with that. So, because we're all going to make the race, or they're all going to make the race, pardon me. So why not use those 10 laps as a live science experiment and see if maybe you can learn something that is valuable later.
We'll get to all of the nuances of what this duel could mean for us in just a little while. For now, we're going to take things with a quick step back. This is the United States of America National Anthem. We'll return with the starting grid. So to the checkered flag on qualifying, just a few minutes away from closing on out, and then it is going to be time to take a rundown to see who will start where, with 12 cars ready to set the grid for your 10-lap qualifier before we get racing action kicked off in earnest for what will be the back portion of the Daytona 200. Starting on pole position then this afternoon, it is going to be none other than Thomas Coonan alongside with Jake Raven. Braxton DeWeese brings it up in third on row number 2 alongside Aaron Lee, with Rodney Roberts and Nolan Milnes bringing it up on row number 3 then.
Coming back here into P7, that's going to be Cameron Albertson with Shannon Milliken on the outside in P8. Then Caden Perkins in P9 with Kevin Frey in P10. And then Joe Tardif and Joey Kuba round out this 12-car field. Well, Nolan, let's talk about the obvious sort of elephant in the room. So Thomas Coonan and Jake Handovic, by making the top 2 in single-car qualifying, they are guaranteed those spots in the race. No matter where they finish in this race, they will be 1 and 2 in the main race in a little bit here for the 60 lappers. So keep that in mind. But everyone else here, where you finish is going to be where you start that 60 lap race.
So far, just waiting on 3 cars to grid on up. I think it's worth noting as well the fact that there were 3 cars that did not put down qualifying laps, right? The 3 at the back of the field, Frey, Cardiff, and Kuba. Normally, in a field this size, it's not uncommon to see most drivers, if not all the drivers, starting at the front, but could this be a bit of caution that they're playing, or they may be trying to see what passes they can make, what works, and what doesn't in these 10 laps?
Yeah, that's a great question to see what's happening. Listen, some Super Speedway drivers love to start in the back, and I understand and respect that strategy. But again, I just think my approach to this 10-lapper would be different than what I'd want to run in the race. But, you know, to each their own, everyone has a different strategy. Some like to be pushed, some like to push, some like to lead, some like to follow. So many different variants of a driver's mindset that comes into play here at Daytona. So we'll wait and see what happens when we do eventually roll off of this grid. Well, as you said, Nolan, we've been here, you know, most iRacing fans, NASCAR fans have been to this track, you know, 1 or 2 times, maybe 106 or so. So there's not much new ground to break. We're going to go around here, around the Super Speedway. We're going to be almost full throttle at all times, bumping, beating, banging, and just trying to keep your nerves under you.
The field making its way off of pit road. Critically, we are down 1 car already. Joe Tarter for the JDJ Motorsports number 97 entry, not making the call this afternoon. So Cardiff, if he does get in, he'll have to start his race from pit road. That's not a problem in the duel per se. It's going to be a huge problem, though, if he comes back to it and does the same thing in the main event. Because when you get to a race like this, cautions might be a bit hard to come by, and that might seriously hinder him later on.
Yeah, it really could. So hopefully he gets around here and, you know, gets a start. I mean, I guess we'll know if he doesn't start here, he'll start in the back of the field for the main race. So we'll keep that as a developing story and see what comes of it. But here we are, back of the field. So now, right now, if you're Thomas Kunin, if you're Jake Handlevick in the front row, you just got to be calm and say, hey, I'm good. I'm just here to have fun. For everyone else, now you got to wonder, hey, listen, you know, am I where I want to be or how fast I want to get there? 10 laps is going to go super, super fast here. Now, keep in mind, caution laps do count in those 10 laps. So 1 or 2 yellow flags, and this 10-lapper will be done. So it's going to be really hard to be patient here, knowing the math in the back of your head.
The pace car going to lead the field out of turn number 4. The iRacing pace car will get set to make the drive down and into pit road, this time by Thomas Kunin. Series runner has the lead. The MIZ Pit Pass Network number 68 Chevy Camaro will work his way into the Geico restart zone. And a new season on Green Flag TV is underway. The qualifier kicks off at Daytona. And already they're beating and banging, as you see, for the top shelf. I think that was Jake Raven that drifted down and got into the door of Braxton DeWeese as they came out of the tri-oval.
Yeah, tale of two stories between the bottom lane and the top lane. Look at that bottom lane still right there in line, almost locked together. Not bumper to bumper per se, but strategy-wise, that top lane was everywhere and big gaps between them. So here we are, lap 1 back straight, and the chess game is already underway.
Kunin making the drive down low. Now you got Roberts up on the top shelf. Perkins pushing DeWeese down low. Albertson is the one that's in line with that number 29 way up on the high side. And now Braxton DeWeese wants to go, forcing Perkins out. And that's going to open up a third lane. Nobody goes with him. And now DeWeese caught in the sucker hole.
Yeah, DeWeese is going to fall back pretty quickly here. But now it's going to be 3 wide. Getting some help in the middle here. So I'll be kind of curious to see how this does play out. There's cars all the way up at the wall, Nolan. These guys are, they know the time is running. I said 10 laps goes fast, and they're racing like it.
This is a relatively intense opening minute and a half.
Oh, the lead is down below yellow.
Yeah, that's Thomas Kunin, your pole sitter, dropping back. He's going to fall all the way to the tail of the grid, and that lets Caden Perkins now pick up the top spot.
Nolan, I love that move by Kunin. I told you earlier, I would use this 10-lapper to figure some things out. Kunin's already locked in P1 for the race. Why not fall back? Why not see how good the draft is? Why not see if you can get up there and draft back again? Now, the problem I do have is he lost a lot of time back there falling back. Really, look at that gap between him and the car behind him. Look at this Joey Kuba in the red and yellow. Now, if Kunin can't catch Kuba, that's a different problem.
It does look like he is really in the gap just a little bit more because Kuba's lifting for the car in front of him. Kunin right now is foot to the floor. Kunin jumps to the top side, back down low, trying to find where the run is. There really isn't a run anywhere right now, though. Perkins still with the lead of this race. Jake Raven up on the high side, but there you see Kevin Frey, the Trash Budget Motorsports driver, down on the low side, trying to make something happen out of turn 4 as well.
Come back around to start, finish again. That top lane starting to get, wow. Starts like organized, and then that Hershey's car just really popped up there. That's Caden Perkins who did that move. That's not going to work too many times. Luckily for him, Handlevick in the 37 backed up a little bit, I think. Otherwise, that would have been our first wreck. He's up in the wall.
And he got put in the wall as well, Perkins. That was a hit from Raven. I think Perkins cut across Raven's nose, and he was about done with the antics that were going on up at the front here, and that's going to send Perkins into the outside wall.
Ooh, yeah, that'll knock him well off the draft. That was a scary moment. You can't make that move swap, but watch it again here. And see the car in front of him.
Saw him kind of lift right there when the 77 got towards the wall, and then he went for the middle line, and wow, that's a weird one. I almost want to say perhaps a little bit of that dreaded word that nobody wants to say that got
maybe
there.
But I agree. I think they were done racing like that. They weren't happy with the move Perkins made, and they were going to try to get around him. So they achieved their goal in a roundabout way. But here we are now, still 2 by plenty down the back straight. Now, I think the top lane finally, look at that. The top lane, that's Braxton DeWeese up top, leading. Oh, he left his partner. Oh, the dreaded move right there by DeWeese.
Driver out of Miamisburg, Ohio. Right now being shoved by Frey, but that run from up top is still coming. I mean, Raven is not going to take that line down. And rest assured, if it comes back down to it, he's going to remember that DeWeese abandoned him there.
Yeah, that's one of those things the driver you have to worry about is the relationship you're building or not building as this race goes on. There's Kevin Frey now pushing around DeWeese. But now, listen, if you push DeWeese up there and he leaves you behind, you're less inclined to do it again. You're going to remember those kind of moves later in the race. And if DeWeese needs a pusher, he might have a hard time sucking. Now watch the 37 and the 32. This is going to be Handlovic and Aaron Lee pushing. Let's see if they tandem their way to the front.
Yeah, they're trying to. They're trying to get something working with them here. So you can see Braxton DeWeese down to the inside of the racetrack, still being pushed big time by Frey behind. Frey going to make a solid effort at it. 4 laps to go. So 4 to go. And again, a lot can happen. A lot's already happened. This has been one of the most aggressive 10-lap runs in a duel I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's somehow also very clean. Still caution-free at the moment. By the way, we talked about a science experiment and what can we do. That's Thomas Coonan back up there, right third in line. So he fell back, went to the back of the field, is now up here running right around P5, P6, depending upon the moment you look at the ticker. So nice job by Coonan to get himself back around here. Huntsville, Alabama is...
Oh, there we go! 1 car going around, 2 going around, the 32 crossed up.
Save it.
Nope, they're not going to. Aaron Lee, the first one to go around, also collected Cameron Albertson, Rodney Roberts. And that will put us under the yellow flag for the first time, and that will force this duel into overtime.
Wow, that's a long forming wreck that I thought they'd saved a couple times, and then eventually just got to be a little too much. Well, here we see Braxton DeWeese going to lead Kevin Frey around and others. But let's watch the wreck here. Watch the top of your screen. Was that maybe a bad bump from Coonan that starts it up onto the 37?
Quite possibly, yeah. And then they slide down to the inside of the racetrack, and then around goes Lee all the way around, up to the high side. Not a lot of damage, though. I mean, there was a lot of hits, but none of them were terribly big.
No, the worst, and I said the 37, I meant the 32. The worst, I think, would be to the 32 who backed into the wall right there. That would be the biggest hit, I think. But watch this again here. Here comes Coonan on a big run. See what the bump comes. Remember, these cars are not shaped well. They don't play nicely. So watch the bump coming here back to the 32 up top. Man, waiting for it. There's a lot of movement. Oh, no, I lied. He got loose, and he hit that Gatorade car, the 84, on the bottom of Nolan Milnes. And that's what caused it to go around.
That is wild. We watched... We watched, of course, the High Tide Racing League MF Racing Designs Premier Series with their season opener, and I never saw a car get loose like that. That is a weird one.
So it could be a few things. It could be just a loose racetrack with a loose car. I don't think that's going to be the case. Watch it again here.
It's with Lee.
I think watch the wheels snap. I have a theory that I'm going to put on here in a second. So the wheels turn to the left, turn to the left. See how it's kind of fighting itself a little bit? Oh, yeah, right there. So a couple of things could be happening. It could just be the setup of the car. But I suspect, Nolan, this is going to be a case of the force feedback driving the car. This is probably a case where maybe that driver has the force feedback set a little high, and the snap back on the force feedback sort of yanked that car the other direction, and then around it went. That's what I would suspect based upon that wheel input. We won't know until we maybe get a word with the 32 Aaron Lee later, but I suspect that's the case of the force feedback driving the car, not the driver.
So, kind of, for those that might not be well-versed in force feedback and even stuff like direct drive wheels, describe what that might mean.
Well, force feedback is a system that basically gives you some kind of tension to simulate real life. So if you go hard left into a turn at Daytona, the wheel's going to fight back with you. It's supposed to fight back a little bit. It's supposed to provide that tension so that you don't just, yank the car off the road, so to speak. Sort of what you kind of get in real life when you make a hard left turn. The wheel's going to fight back a little bit with you. So that's what's going to happen here. But as drivers, we can just make some settings to our settings, how strong that force feedback is, or how quick it reacts, or other factors. And sometimes if that setting is too high, then it's honestly, it's like driving a jackhammer. That's the best way I could put it if it's set too high. I've done it before. It sucks. It hurts. To be honest with you. So what happens is when you turn to the left, that strength is so strong that it's like a strong rubber band snapping back the other way, and it sort of grabs the wheel. And then now it becomes like a seesaw battle, in your simulator.
And critically, how this comes into play in that corner, right? You have to remember, when cars are on the banking like this, they're effectively driving uphill. And that's something that cannot be understated, because these banks, they don't look very steep, but try walking up one of these things, you practically need a harness, or you're crawling up on your hands and knees. So you're driving uphill, and when you have force feedback that's that rigid, you're almost turning the wheel to the right, because like in the real world, a car naturally wants to go down the hill, because that's just conservation of momentum.
Yeah, that's just how science works. You're right. So, all right, well, let's reset here for what's going to be a quick overtime restart to green-white checkers where we are. And we're going to look at the field here. So Deweese is going to lead around on the bottom, Frey's up top, and then Raven and Mills third and fourth here. So, again, almost everyone's racing for their spot in the main feature race. Remember, our front two who started, that is Kunin and Handlovic, are not. They are guaranteed to be up front. But everyone else here, if you want to start up front, if you love to lead a super speedway race, you need to get up here now and make something happen. Alternatively, if you just kind of like to lead and wait for something to happen, maybe you're okay finishing last in this race. I love super speed racing because of all the different what-if strategies. It's not so clear-cut like other racetracks are.
I like all the damage on the front end of this number 17 car back. I mean, that could very easily be a lot of aero damage. It could be possible motor damage. That could mean, I don't think Milken's going to be very competitive off of this restart here.
Ooh, at least maybe as a follower, right? Maybe as a pusher. Maybe the way that the push works and the air moves over top of the car, he'd be okay. But there's no way. If they put him in charge of leading a line, they will drop like a rock in an ocean if that happens. But he might be able to push someone around depending on how bad that motor's hurt.
2 laps will be left in this race. This was going to be the lap the race ended on, but we will go into overtime. We add 2 more. Braxton DeWeese jumping on the loud pedal. Green flag back in the air.
Rid of the challenge here, but 2 laps. This is about the time it takes for these cars to get wound up and really at full speed. So about the time we're at full speed, it'll be time for this run to end. Let's see who stays in line here and who does not have any big gaps here. Look at that huge gap up there up top. Oh, that's already breaking apart. That's going to kill the run for the top 2 up there, possibly, as the bottom lane should have a great run down the back straight here.
Braxton DeWeese trying to hang on out in front, but here comes Kevin Frey up on the high side, being pushed by Nolan Milnes. And on the bottom side, Jake Raven, a driver that once led the top line for much of this duel. Now trying to see what he can do as the main pusher. Oh, sliding into line there just behind. I think that was Perkins that just ducked down. White flag coming out this time. 1 lap to go, and we'll have our feature event decided.
All bets are off. No cautions in the last laps. This is going to be who gets around first. Look at that. That top lane is moving. That 82 of Kevin Frey is currently leading. Oh, loose car. Everyone save it. We're good.
And that fractures the inside line. The 84 Milnes jumps down low, takes Perkins with him. Perkins trying to get something going. 77 on the car, but scores 54. Big bump, bad bump to Braxton DeWeese. Kevin Frey jumps down to the inside. Frey leads the way down to the turn numbers 3 and 4, making our way to the final corner of the racetrack. They're double file for 2 on back. DeWeese loose again. Contact with the top lane. Fanning out as they make their way off to the final corner and down to the stripe. Big block from Frey, but Frey takes the W in the qualifier.
As they wreck across the line, there's a lot to discuss in that last lap. The bumps from Perkins were frightening as far as we can see him from that camera shot. But wow, lots of carnage happening there in that wreck. Ooh.
And that will take us straight into the main event without time to rest. So Kevin Frey will start his race from pole position alongside Braxton DeWeese. Milnes was third with Perkins in fourth. Albertson, Roberts on row 3. Seaman Light, the top 2 in qualifying, got screwed out of that deal. They'll start 7th with Jake Raven in 8th, Kuba 9th, and it's Milliken, Lee, and again Tardif closing out the field.
Yeah, looks like the rules have changed from what we were told. You're right. I thought for sure the top 2 were going to get their spots, but man, oh man, if I'm a driver, I am taking notes if I was in the back of that field. You can see the bumps that Perkins was giving, how hard that car in front of him was wiggling. That's not a driver I want to be in front of. Now, I mean, to credit to Perkins, though, we do need to say again, of the 3 major NASCAR series in iRacing, these are the cars where the back bumper and the front bumper don't really line up. You cannot be shoving with these cars. Like, it just doesn't work as well. You have to bump and move on. Oh, I guess they're going to give.
Maybe this is a manual sword.
Back. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll go with it. But again, I think that the key to this car that's hard for some people to understand is you have to kind of tap draft, right? You get up there, you barely get to that bumper, you give that small nudge of a draft, and you have to kind of back it off. If you lean on someone's bumper here, you will loop them around.
Oh, absolutely. And you just... Sorry, I wanted to... thought something's about to happen there, but you want to make sure that you hit them square. And there's one cardinal rule with these cars. You do not push in the corners. Period. Does not matter how good of a pusher you are, it never ends well.
No, it's not going to end well. And a lot of drivers, no matter the car, are not a fan of it. There's really one of those, like, you know, everyone has arguments, you know, iPhone, Android, Coke, Pepsi, pineapple and pizza, what have you. Pushing in corners is really one of those things for super speedway drivers. Some drivers love it. Some drivers hate it. It's a real strong argument that you get from both sides in that moment. Well, happy to say, you know, I mean, overall, a fairly clean yellow-wise, you know, qualifier race. Maybe not racecraft-wise. There's going to be a lot of questions to be answered here. Can certain drivers calm down in the 60-lapper? You know, are certain drivers more or less or equally aggressive? There's a lot to be figured out in 60 laps.
Once again, if you want to get involved with all the thrilling race that we've seen so far and that we're about to see, scan the QR code top right of your screen and hop on track with the Prodigy Racing Association's Revlimit Workshop Pro Series. It'll be in the hands of Thomas Kunin and Jake Raven. Once again, thank you guys all for joining us here on an absolutely stellar Friday night of racing in action. Prime time, ready to kick off into the restart zone. It's go, go, go for the World Center of Racing. Off of turn number 4, Thomas Kunin, the pole sitter, still leads the way. Jake Raven was also given his spot back as he'll jump up to the high side. And they will lead 1-2 at the stripe to close out lap number 1.
Look how quickly that bottom lane's really got a nice parade going. It's not all tightened up. There's some big gaps in the line, but the numbers are still there to support the bottom lane being the preferred lane right now. This gap will start to close down as the draft kicks in. But I'm wondering if that 32 and that 17 back there are back there on purpose, because they're pretty far back. We'll talk about that later. But look at Kunin. Nice, calm, smooth line for the most part, leading this bottom group around.
Yeah, Kunin right now playing it safe, playing it smart. He's not making too many aggressive moves. You do wonder how long it's going to be, though, before Kunin decides to drop to the rear. Pit stops are going to be critical this afternoon. And assuming this goes green to the first pit stop window, you don't want to be leading every single lap of that, because then you're going to be down by probably about 2 laps at least worth of fuel on everyone else.
Yeah, and this is the one-stop race if we stay green. Right around halfway is when the pit stop should happen. Now, no one should, I mean, maybe except for leader, no one should be scared about fuel. But it's something you should definitely be aware of, you know, where you are and what have you. So if you have any friends or teammates in this race, you're going to want to keep that in mind. But look at that beautiful bump here by the 82 of Kevin Frey. Does a small bumps to Kuhn, gives that small tap and then backs it off. Help Kuhn lead here, possibly another lap around.
Off of turn number 4, we'll see it again. Just a small little nudge, enough to just get him moving a little bit more than a couple miles an hour of speed, but there you see the outside lane starting to come in a party. That's Jake Raven up on the high side, being pushed by Braxton DeWeese. They're making moves up top.
Yeah, so Raven now is going to kind of bide his time in that 37 machine, just right up top here. But really, he's sort of at the mercy of the car behind him and how this line behind him, and can they stick together and what can they make happen. But right now, I think he's actually cleared Kunin, at least down the back straight, but he has opted to stay up there with his drafting partner and see if they can lead on the high side.
Working off 4 for now. Still not seeing too much movement, and I'm not expecting to see, honestly, all that much. I saw a lot of aggression in the 10-lap duel, but one actual baseline that we can actually kind of take off of this entering today's race is the Ole Miss Royal Cup Series. They had a virtually identical format to this in their big opener on Tuesday night, and we saw a lot of aggression in the duels, and all of that aggression vanished. And they went for the first 20 laps under complete green flag conditions, pretty much just like this. Nose to tail, 2 trains. I don't think we can expect anything different here because there's no pressure anymore. You don't have 10 laps to make whatever spots you can. Now, you get to play the long game.
Yeah, I agree with that. You're right. You get lots of time here to make a move. Running lap 5 is 60, but then also as a driver, you start thinking, gosh, we're already on lap 5 of 60. Like, time is so much different as a driver because these laps will go by so fast. I mean, yeah, you know, they're roughly 46, 47 second laps. That sounds like forever. When you're in the car, those happen really fast. I think every driver has a moment in their head, whether it be lap 20, whether it be lap 30, whether it be 10 to go, whatever. Everyone has a go point, when we call it go time. And you have to say, all right, well, now it's time to be aggressive, and whatever happens, happens. But as we're watching here from Cameron Albertson here, I agree, it's not quite time for that yet.
Well, and you can see, right, I mean, this track, again, you look at it just by itself, and you stick one person on it, it looks like it's really wide. You actually get in a car, and this is what they see. It's a very narrow racetrack. There's not a lot of places you can go if everything starts to kick off. So that's why drivers are taking their time. They're laying back. They do have one quick repair in the back pocket, but you want to save that for when the big one comes. We're talking maybe 15, 10, 5 laps from the end. You don't want to be using that less than a 1/6 of the way through the race.
No, and the more important part, you know, we saw from that camera shot from the 7, is not only is it feel narrow, but realistically, if you are drafting correctly in these cars, you are up on the bumper of the car in front of you. So really, your viewpoint, so to speak, is nothing but the rear end of the car in front of you. If you can see things beyond the car in front of you, you're probably not as tight up in the draft as you need to be. So if something does happen, you're kind of relying on your listening skills, your auditory skills. You're relying on the driver in front of you to not mess something up because you have a very, very limited scope. It's like looking like a periscope at a boat is what you should feel like.
And that is exactly what Shane Milliken back in 7th is doing here. Milliken right now, he's leaving a pretty big gap up to the cars in front of him for exactly that reason. It gives him visibility, and it gives him maybe a 1/10 of a second of extra reaction time. And at a track like this where you're packed up running 185 plus miles an hour, that 1/10 of a second is the difference between winning a race and ending up in the fence.
Now, the downside for everyone ahead of Milliken here in that red and green McDonald's machine is that they're hoping he does get up there, because when he gets up there, he causes that air to move differently. He actually can directly affect the speed of everyone in front of him by how tight he is in that draft. So he's moved down now, just 3 cars up top here, and they're doing their best to hold on. There's that car back there. We saw really Perkins have a wild 10-lap, qualifying race. He seems to have calmed it down.
And again, not surprised by this. You got to get the aggression out. And we talked about it during that race, right? This is the experimentation time. Everybody's making the race. There's no worries about that. Figure out what works. Figure out what doesn't. And now that you have that vital information, you can game it out like we're playing chess at over 200 miles an hour, as some like to say. We can game that out now all the way to the end of this race. Now there's only 2 cars up on the high side. And, well, we got a third one up to join them, but it doesn't look like there's a lot of faith being shown to the outside lane right now.
No, the outside lane does take patience to make it work. You see a lot of them hop up there. The problem is a lot of them don't have enough patience to stick up there and make it work. It takes a little bit of time to get a run up there, and then you can get that momentum built up. And every time you move someone in or out of that lane, it's kind of like restarting it back at 0. Maybe not exactly at 0, but it's a big reset point when you do that. But when it comes to super speedway racing, everyone has a preferred line. Some people love the inside. They love to be there either because they want to have that yellow line as a marker, as a visual aid, that double yellow. Or maybe they believe that something does happen like a wreck. They have a whole inside track to pull down into to avoid a wreck. And some people love that feature. Some people love the high side because they love getting that engine bound up. They love having that little bit stronger run out of corner. Again, we talk about everything about this is preferences. Sometimes that matters more to super speedway than what should happen. Is what do you feel comfortable with?
10 laps down, 50 to go. So already 1/6 of the way through, we are just clicking laps off like there is no tomorrow. And you can still see virtually unchanged at the front. Nobody is wanting to pass the top 2 because nobody wants to lead the race this early on. You want to make sure that you got the fuel to go the distance at the end, which again begs the question: how long before Koonin and how long before Raven both opt to duck out of line and save a little bit of fuel? I think when that happens eventually, we're going to be seeing a huge game of musical chairs kicking off at the top spot.
Yeah, that is sort of the question, right? And of course, if you're Koonin, it's hard to do that. It sounds great strategy-wise. It sounds great when you and I say, hey, don't burn up all your fuel. But he's up front. In theory, although not always, you and I have seen some pretty weird things in our time, but in theory, he's in the safest spot on the racetrack. In theory, every wreck that happens, what happened behind him, he doesn't need to worry about checking up for a wreck or getting run over or what have you. Now, it's Daytona. Weird things happen. The leader's not always safe. But in theory, he is safer than anyone else.
It is. It's interesting, right? Because, I mean, 99% of laps at Daytona and Talladega, the lead is genuinely the safest place you can possibly be. You have the most visibility. You got no risk of overheating your car. The only risk you really have is being a lap or 2 short on fuel from everybody else, but that's easy enough to manage. Now,
there's Perkins.
The one time when that is not the case is the last lap.
And I think the other thing to talk about, too, when you talk about the reasons you want to be up front, because this is what I think people forget about this style of racing. By being the leader, you do not have to work the throttle. You can be flat-footed all the way around if you want to. I guarantee you, everyone behind the 2 leaders, whether it be Koonin on the inside or Raven on the outside, you're lifting, you're feathering the throttle, you're maybe even tapping the brakes to get that car wound up. In that draft, if you are full throttle, you're going to run someone over with how these lines check out. So right now for Koonin, it's the easiest race because he just gets kind of put a brake on the gas pedal and hold on.
You heard right there a little bit of the feathering of the throttle for the driver to Sacramento as Kevin PRA will drop back to 4th with Deweese up on the high side of the racetrack. But, that goes to your point, right? He's saving a bit of fuel. He's probably only running at about half throttle maybe. Just enough to keep the speed of that car up, but not enough that he's actually going to be trying to push that 68 car. And you just saw as well, Braston Deweese looking a little bit high there on Raven. That could be a potential effort to try and cool the car.
Yeah, it may be as well. That's something let's talk about too, is these engine temps and how long you can draft and push and what have you. But yeah, more than likely, Kevin PRA's lifting because the way that draft works, the cars mid-draft or maybe even the back of the draft are technically running faster than the cars up front. In fact, right now, the fastest lap of the race belongs to the 17 of Shannon Milliken, and he's deep in this pack. He is not up there at the front. So you know, in theory, oh my gosh, that car moves down. That's Deweese, I believe. You can run some over from behind if you're not lifting from time to time in these cars.
Bit of discoordination it looks like from that top lane. Look at how much Raven has dropped back all of a sudden. He's lost about 4-5 spots in half a lap or so. I think something might have happened in that top lane, and now they are dropping like stones. They might be gearing up to try and drop back in line to save some fuel. Maybe that's what Raven's trying to do. He's trying to find an opening.
Yeah, it may be, or maybe he thought that Deweese was going to kind of pull back up in front of him and take the spot and was surprised he didn't. So maybe he was leaving space open that just never was necessary, right? So.
Oh, no!
That's a possible wreck. There it is.
Caution is
Yellow's
out
out.
hard into the wall. Kuba with the big hit as well. And that will put us under the yellow flag for the first time this afternoon at the Daytona 200. Now, this is not going to be enough to send this race into a one-stopper under caution. If they pit here, they still have to stop with about 13 laps to go.
Yeah, but you do stop here this way in case we go green. Your green flag stops quicker because you don't need as much gas towards the end of this race. So everyone I would believe would stop here. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't. As Kunin's going to lead them around to the back end of the pace car. Let's watch the replay here. Watch the car on the bottom, the red and yellow. That is the 93 of Joey Kuba. I believe him and Raven are going to make contact. Let's see who causes what here. Kuba gets a tap from the back. Goes up the hill.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he got a tap from Cameron Albertson. Went up the hill, and eventually this turns into a big wreck and a caution as the 37 collides in the wall.
Feel bad for the 17 of Shannon Milliken. He was doing a good job and just trying to keep out of trouble, and eventually he runs into the wreck for his troubles.
Let's watch this again here. And there's really nothing wrong with the bump that, well, actually, I take that back. Take that back. If you watch that bump again, you're going to see that bump was not centered. There's something we've not talked about yet, which we should at some point. If you're going to bump the car in front of you, have to do it dead center. If you do it from an angle like that, that's what causes the car to start to turn, get uncomfortable, get looped around. Well, so here's the question. Everyone's going to come down pit road. That's easy. But right now, the question I have is for some people like Kuba or Raven,
Ooh.
Do you burn your fast repairs? Kunin massively overshot his pits. Oh, hello, that's a wall.
Yeah, so the top, wow, everyone's sliding through their pit stops. Can you tell who's practiced pit stops and who hasn't?
I'm going to say, yeah, you can tell me someone didn't practice something. This is going to be completely different up front here.
That was nasty for a few cars there. Kunin all of a sudden just dropped from first all the way back to sixth.
Kunin was like in 2 stalls ahead almost, it looked like there. So let's wait and see how this plays out. So now it's going to be Milnes, Albertson, and Frey, your top 3. They did not have trouble on pit road. Wow.
It was a wild moment. Let's take a ride aboard here with Cameron Albertson. He was the one that did the main pushing.
Watching the off center to the left here. Oh, he's off center to the right.
Yeah.
Just got that car looped a little bit. You can make the argument, could have saved it, but just hard to do. So the 37 got big damage. Kuba got big damage. So I'm going to take a moment and look and see here. I'm curious to know if either driver. I can tell you right now, Joey Kuba went ahead and used his fast repair. I can tell you that for sure.
I'm not too surprised on that one.
You'd have a hard time, unless the car was thoroughly damaged, almost to the point of being non-drivable. You'd have a heck of a time convincing me to burn my fast repair on lap 18 of 60.
It was a hard hit to the wall, though, especially for Raven. Did Raven take a quick repair?
Let's find out. Let me see if I can find Raven's car.
Because I saw for a moment that right front got kind of pushed into where the engine bay was for a brief moment.
Yeah, it did.
Deweese back into pit road, so is Kunin, Milliken, and Roberts. And let's take a little look on what happened on pit road. This was one of the wildest pit moments I think we've ever seen.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. Watch here. So Kunin's going to come in first. and he is going to massively miss his pit stall. Like, that's the first one.
And then Raven just, he's going to end up going just in straight and hit the wall.
Yeah, that'll happen right behind Kunin. So ironically, this one camera shot will serve both stories. Look at that big smoke. If you go back to Kunin, you'll see right there the 37.
I don't think you're locked up. I'm counting through this, and I'm counting, I think about 7, 8 cars that overshot their pit stops to some degree.
Listen, you and I talk a lot in different broadcasts here on Green Flag TV about the skill of being on pit road and how it can, take time from you or help you find time.
Right.
And that's something people don't practice. And it's so baffling to me, to be honest with you, because it is such a massive skill, especially under yellow. How much time you can gain. It's pretty steep here, so...
Even under caution. And again, under caution here, those spots matter so much.
Yep.
The one saving grace for Kunin here is now you can save some fuel at the back.
Yeah, that is, I guess, a saving grace in a sort of silver cloud kind of lining. But I'm curious to see how fast Kunin wants to get back to the front.
He did come down to pit road a second time, so I guess he figured, well, may as well top up now that I'm towards the rear anyway. He was joined by Deweese, Roberts, and Milliken. Nolan Milnes leading the way into the Geico restart zone. Green flags in the air. We're back to it. So far, wow, huge jump from the top 3.
Yeah, massive jump. Obviously, they must have had that worked out as a team or something, because, I mean, that is massive. Now, the problem they're going to have here is the way Super Speed Racing works is they're going to be a little slower picking up the pace in the line behind them. So they will get swallowed up here by everyone here. By the way, I can tell you, from what I can tell, the 37, as we look at the camera shots, it looks like that's a clean car as well. So I suspect, yes, he also went ahead and used the fast repair as well. So
yeah,
those have got to be out of the way for the 37 and others here on track. But look at this here. Now there's Kunin. I asked you how fast would he want to get back up front. Look at him already trying to make the top line work, and he barely squeezes back in the bottom lane.
Gets right in front of Cameron Albertson and tucks in behind the number 32 Toyota of Aaron Lee just up the road. Only one car up top right now, and that is Milliken, all the way at the tail end of the field. So single file throughout. We are now 1/3 distance through the Daytona 200 this afternoon. Milnes right now carrying the lead. Frey in second. And it's Raven, Lee, Kunin, and Albertson for the top 6.
I'm really stunned how big gaps there are in this line. Man, they're going to close up here, but I thought they would have closed already. But now I think they're finally going to start to close up here as we come back around to the start and finish again. Those big gaps are going to lead to someone getting a massive run at some point, whether it be just pulling out of the line or getting sucked back into the line or what have you. So there's Kunin again. Now he's got some drafting help here, I believe, from the 7. They're going to try to go to the front.
Look at the run that they get off of the high side of turn 2. And just like that, Albertson, Kunin running 1-2. They will clear Milnes. They were about 7th and 8th at the start of the lap. They drive all the way up to the point, and they'll pick up the top 2 spots. But Albertson bounces off the double yellow line.
Yeah, that was a big move. Just kind of a little too far to the left for Albertson. But you saw Milliken was up there. He pulled back down the line. So they've left Kuba up there all alone for the moment. But here comes Kuba now with some help from behind. So he'll get a big run here. That's Perkins, I believe, pushing behind him. Yep, now already they're broken that line. I'm telling you, Perkins has had an interesting night.
You know, I feel like a lot of people tend to kind of diss on leagues that don't have some big field counts with them. For 11 cars, this has been a really good race so far. And
clear.
Boy, Kuba trying to jump down low and shut off the run from Frey. Didn't work, but again, this has been a good race. It's been intense. There's been action. There's been some thrills, some spills, and about everything in between.
Yeah, and listen, and sometimes these smaller leagues, the benefit and the perk to them is that less cars at times, means less contact, less wrecks, less yellows, less of those things. So you don't always need to have, 40 car fields to be competitive, because there's positives and negatives. There's pros and cons, if you will, to everything involving that. So you're right, this has been a fun race. We're already 24, 25 laps in almost. And we're moving along pretty quickly here with a lot of lead changes, lots of moves up and down the field. And I think lots of drivers who are capable of getting up there, and maybe just biding their time.
Out to be turning lap 25 this afternoon, and still not a lot of... Ooh, Kunin, hello. Is that on purpose, or did he get bumped down there?
There's a massive gap behind me. I don't know, but, wow. I almost was it on purpose, because if it wasn't on purpose, he could have got back up sooner. Let's watch this again here from the front.
Yeah, that was deliberate.
That's the deliberate, and it said you can almost tell it's deliberate, because look at that. He could have got back up there. Probably right here after Raven in 37, maybe after Milliken. He could have found his way back on track, but he went ahead and moved to the back. I am all for being in the back, but we're at the halfway point of a 60-lap race almost. I don't know. That's not maybe not a call I would make, but we'll see how it plays out.
I was a bit caught off guard as to where he did that. You very seldom see drivers do that type of a move in the trial, right?
That's a back straight move.
Exactly. Like, that's something if he would do that on the backstretch, I wouldn't have batted an eye out there. It's like, yeah, fair enough. You never see that in the tri-oval. Usually, because if you do clip that apron line in the tri-oval, you're going around, you're probably taking people with you. So people just don't want to take the chance.
100%. But look up top here. I know I've picked on it a couple times, and I don't want to do that. But look at this top drafting lane. It's working for the moment, but it is just like every line, every straightaway. Perkins is just not center, and that's what he's missing. If he wants to really be a better super speed racer, look at that. Why are you not in line? Why are you not almost eating the middle of the bumper in front of you? You're not helping anyone by doing that. You're costing your line time. You're costing yourself time. I understand that someone's going to say, but the temps, and I get that, but there's no way his temps are that hot already that he needs to be that far up. Like, he's not drafting hard enough. He's not pushing hard enough to have high temps.
And maybe thinking about opening up a third lane, trying to go for 3. He was doing the same thing there to the back straightaway. He was like looking high, and eventually Frey went up to cover him off, and now he's going to drop down to get in front of Albertson.
Frey's done with it. That makes you nervous. I mean, look at that wreck we had earlier. That really was started from a bump that was off center, right? And yes, they're easy to do. It's a perfect science to commentate on. But yeah, it's always harder to bump center sometimes. But if that guy's going to ride half a bumper up on me every lap, I'm going to do everything I can not to put myself in that situation. But speaking of that, now we get a new car up front, right in front of Perkins. And we'll see how this fares out.
Frey now leads the way. Albertson up top, and Perkins still trying to look all the way up by the wall. I wonder if he's using the wall as a marker to try and judge where his car is rather than the cars in front of him. I'm just trying to find an explanation for why he really wants to be leading on the right rear like this when we get down the straights. Trying to find some kind of a reference marker to go off of.
I do. I actually think it's really about temps. Some drivers get very nervous very, very quickly for no good reason about their temps, and they think they're burning up. These cars have pretty good gauges in them that will start to blink red. When that happens, he's now going to try to... Oh, man.
Boy, oh, boy. That's going to cause... That's the type of thing that causes accidents right there.
Yeah, and you saw Kuba even scrub the wall and try to check up behind Perkins when you saw that there. Watch it from this different camera angle. He's going to try to cut down here. He thought they were both clear. He tried to cut down and lead Frey and went, oh, you know what? And I'll be honest with you. Had he just committed to the move, he might have cleared Frey and took the lead on the bottom lane.
I think he would have been clear. I mean, looking from there, it looked like he was clear by a couple feet at least. Yep. So this is what I think we're seeing from Perkins is a lot of indecision. He doesn't know what he wants to do, and that doesn't work at super speedways. You have time to think about it a little bit at tracks like Charlotte, where you get a bit more spread out. Here, no. You want to make a move, you have to make that move, and you have to sell that you're going to make that move.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Yep, absolutely agree with you, because you're right. You have to snap decision that move and be in there. Oh, there's Frey now dropping down. Now, that's where you said earlier, and I agree with you, this is where you make that move. This is the safe spot down the back straight, because there's really no risk down there until you get to the corner, and he's then going to merge back in safely. That's way safer than the way Kunin did it.
And still looking for 3 wide. Raven down low. The 17 to the middle. Kunin going to get shut down on the high side. So Milliken getting a little loose in that middle line. He'll jump back down low. And we'll make our way back down to the turn number 1. But a hairy 5-6 laps there. We're now halfway, by the way. 30 down, 30 to go.
Yeah, so keep an eye here. Probably about, I would say, 10 to 15 laps under green before those pit stops come into play. But look at that. Kuba's having a hard time back there. Remember Kuba scrubbed the wall earlier because of the way the drafting line was moving? I wonder if Kuba maybe did a little bit of aero damage to that car, because he had to kind of get out of Kunin's way. See anything here that kind of ended? There's that scrubbing of the wall earlier.
No, that was just now. That was seconds ago.
That's just now. Oh, okay. So he's still doing it. So I wonder if that's just scrubbing a little too much speed off, because, I mean, Kunin passed him very easily on the high side.
Yeah, absolutely. So just behind, Shannon Milliken and Rodney Roberts. They're both looking to... Oh, there we go. Corey...
Another car out of line. So obviously gas mileage is becoming a thought.
Albert's going to drop down low. He'll fade to the rear of the field. He'll get right up there as they enter turn 3. No harm, no foul. Kunin now leads the way once more from up top, pushed by Rodney Roberts.
See Roberts up there with that Georgia Bulldog paint scheme, trying to do what his Bulldogs couldn't do this year and have a successful run. They, of course, lost a couple weeks ago in the college football playoffs.
That is cold, man. What's also cold is how those two just dropped down across the nose of Perkins and just hung Milliken out there.
Yeah. I mean, if you're Milliken, in that case, you know, this is a good example. I don't think Milliken can be mad about that. He might have wished they would have stayed up top. But that's what you expect when you get a 2-car run. You really can't wait for that 3rd car. You'll get swallowed back up by the bottom lane. That's different compared to the move you and I saw during the qualifying race when like one car left the other. Man, there's Perkins way up top. He tried to follow the Bulldog car up there. And then I don't know if they just shuffled him out of line or if maybe Roberts had a second thoughts. I'm inclined to believe that was not an accident.
That's very cheeky if that was what the plan was. Kind of recognizing Perkins' aggression, yet lack of decision. Though now he's drifting up again, and that will let Milnes pick up second. So Roberts going to start to drop back a little bit more now. Look out. Milliken trying to get up there. No room, though. Man. Not clear. Car outside.
These guys not have spotters?
So you got to listen to that stuff, man. And we'll get it singled out again.
What I feel like is happening right now is everyone's becoming indecisive. Everyone's not sure when they want to make their move, quote unquote. When do they want to make it happen? Because everyone's kind of starting to read the, like, everyone's starting to kind of flirt with that high lane. And what that is when you go up there like that, you're kind of hoping that everyone else snap decides with you. And you sort of have this new impromptu alliance that will sort of ride with you and draft with you. But when it doesn't happen, you sort of snap your way back to the bottom. And I think that's what's happening. Everyone's kind of trying to test the waters, you know, and see who will do what here. But look at this. Kunin now goes up top from the lead. That's something you don't see often. The leader has opened the door on the bottom lane.
You know, something else that is interesting about what you just pointed out there about wanting to get these alliances, that works really well in big fields. It doesn't really work in a smaller field like this, though.
No, not often. I agree. A lot of these moves are big field moves, but we'll wait and see here. I mean, it just takes 3 or 4 drivers in a small field to make a decision, and now you are the dominant alliance. You are the power couple, if you will, and you get to kind of dictate how this could go. But by the way, great job by Kunin, sort of unstated. Remember, he dropped back, 15 laps to go in the front straight, and when I talked about it, he moved all the way to the back, all the way back forward. What that would do for you as a driver, Nolan, is that's a confidence booster. That sort of makes you feel great. It makes you feel powerful. It makes you feel strong because you know what that car can do for you.
For sure. Well, all of this, and of course, this is yet another season opener. It's been a week of season openers this week as we see Perkins jump back up to the... Holy cow, where does this run come from Perkins? I'm going to shut down my thought and look back to this. He's just made up 3-4 spots around the outside lane in a corner by himself with no help, and now he's up to 5th.
Yeah, he's doing a good job. He's sort of taking advantage of these cars that aren't really lined up perfectly. He's doing a great job of taking advantage of where there's gaps in the draft.
Where is this coming from? He doesn't have any draft.
No, he doesn't. But see, look at that. What he's getting an advantage of with those cars in the back who don't stay in line. They kill that bottom lane whenever it happens. But you're right. Look at that power. I mean, that's not to be missed. That's a great power he has. He made Kunin sort of go up there and sort of try to check up that run. And now he's up to the front.
Unreal. Take a ride on board and look at the momentum here. Slide it up, coming off of turn 2 on the last lap by. There he gets up to 9th. He gets in line again, makes the duck out. Now he goes up to 8th. And there's 7th. Here's 6th. And then there's going to be 5th with the number 7 on the inside. He's following the draft of Kunin in front and just rolling off of that. Now he's up to 5th. And then here comes 4th, 3rd, and then 2nd. And he's going to complete the pass at turn 4 next time by for the lead.
You know what I wonder when I saw that video back after watching this replay here? I wonder if everyone involved in that wreck back on lap 16 or 18, whatever it was, did not fix their damage. I wonder if there's still a couple of hurt cars in that line that are sort of slowing up the back of that draft pack. Because you're right, I mean, that's a massive run, and I don't want to take anything from Perkins, but that's not supposed to happen by yourself, right? So it makes me wonder if some of those cars in line are still hurt, and that's maybe they're not full speed. Maybe they're the ones hurting the draft lane, and Perkins got up to the top lane and went full throttle, and now he went from full throttle to leading this race.
What I love these cars is that you can make moves like that. You have to have guts to do them, but you can make moves like that. Now Albertson trying to lead the way on the high side, but Milligan wants to go for it. Albertson blocks. You're going to see that 17 of Milligan getting all over the shot here. Perkins still hanging on for the lead down low. Now I'm curious to see how he's going to handle himself now that he's in the lead of this race rather than being one of the main pushers.
Yeah, that'll be the question for both cars up front, right? Is both cars have really been pushing all night. So now, listen, some people are great pushers who do not really care to be pushed. They're not comfortable with it. They'd rather not have someone else sort of be in control of their fate, if you will. Kunin snuck up high for a second. Maybe just got caught off guard by the corner a little bit, caught sleeping. But sometimes just because you're a great pusher doesn't mean you're great at being pushed, and vice versa. And that top lane is falling back quickly. So I wonder really if, Albertson has not the best skills being pushed. And I think Kunin's wanted to slip up top maybe, but doesn't think he can clear and stay clear of Albertson.
And now Kunin jumps up to the high side. He wants to get back to the lead. Perkins will stay down low. 20 laps to go from the world center of racing. Albertson shoves Kunin clear. Perkins still holding on to the low side. Milligan. Oh, no, not clear. Kunin with an aggressive drop to get down to the bottom. Albertson tried to follow and almost left rear hooked himself.
Yeah, that's the move we talked about earlier. That's the bad way to do that, right? Because you're going to leave a taste in Albertson's mouth about it. But now everyone's got to start to be aggressive about getting the bottom. Because I would suspect we're, 5 laps from green flag pit stops?
Maybe. But yeah, we mentioned about how this is just one of many season openers this week. We already had OMSRL in the beer league this week. This is 3 of 4. We're staying here right at Daytona Beach for tomorrow night with DJ Clark and I bring you 250 miles of racing action from the SRA IEL Truck Series. And Derek, you're back in the booth with us, but we swing down to Kansas for the final race of the regular series season for the High Tide Race League MFRD Premier Series. And then, well, it's back to the Sunshine State for round 2 of the OMSRL Cup Series. But they're down in Miami this coming week over at Homestead Miami Speedway. So a lot coming up on Green Flag TV. That's what we got on offer over the next 4 days.
Yeah, and by the way, remember, if you're watching this race, maybe you stumbled across it or someone sent you the link and you're not in this league yet, that QR code up there on the top right of your screen will get you to the Discord for this league. If you think, man, that sounds fun. Hey, that looks fun. Well, go try it out. Scan that QR code, hop on into Discord, and they'll take care of you and get you set up so you can be on the broadcast 1 week or 2 weeks from tonight.
Yeah, they'd be happy to have you. We'd be happy to have you. Michigan's up next. It is the Legacy Michigan. And personally, Derek, Michigan International Speedway, one of, if not my favorite ovals on the NASCAR calendar. I think the only one that rivals it is Auto Club. The racing there is fantastic every single time.
And this is, I don't want to call it a warm-up for Michigan because that's not the right way to say that, but a lot of the Michigan racing 2 weeks will be momentum-based and will be a little bit of drafting-based. It's a big track, it's a 2-mile track, so it won't be like this. We won't be too wide, 4, 5, 6 rows deep, but this is good, a good 1-2 punch for this league of style of racing.
I do think that Michigan and the Auto Club, the racing there is almost more extreme because you do have to lift off just a little bit in those corners. And that makes it so it's much less rank and file. It's a lot more chaotic.
Yep.
When we swing out to the tracks like that.
Yeah, 100%. Man, look at this. Kuna now. I'm surprised he's still up top. I'm surprised himself and others have not tried to find a way to the bottom of this track. I mean, again, we're only a couple laps from green flag pit stops, and they can't do it from the top lane.
And right there, you saw Milliken go 3 wide, get into the side of Braxton DeWeese, nearly sending the number 8 around. So a close call there coming down the back straightaway, but we keep it together. We are approaching the final quarter of this race in just another 2.5 miles.
Yeah, this race is quickly ticking down. So right now, if you're someone in the back, if you're a Kuba, if you're, anyone back there, the 32, anyone, the 37, I think back there is Raven is back there now. This is go time. I don't know how it's not. I mean, almost every driver, this has got to be the point where you've got to pick up the pace and get moving. I mean, yes, that pit stop's still in there, and as we saw last time, you can make up a lot of ground in that pit stop, apparently. But it's time to stop lurking back. You need to make something happen and stop waiting for it to happen.
Well, now, here's the other big question. Are we still trying to get that? Are we still in that mindset now, or do we wait until after the green flag pit stops? If you're me, I'm honestly waiting until after the pit stops to try and make those types of moves.
Milliken wiggled really hard there through the tri-oval. That got scary for a second. I get what you're saying. Why not wait till after the pit stop? I mean, every iota of time matters here at Daytona. The time you spend, catching up to this field before you get to the pit stops matters. Time on pit road matters. Do you have a drafting partner lined up for after the pit stop matters? So we'll see. I would be surprised if they don't start coming around this time by, and we're still 3 wide, so maybe not everyone's going to. Watch your out of 4, you'll show them start to dip down if they're going to, and no takers.
Now, here's the other big question I have for you. Last time we came down to pit road, it was under caution, and we saw, 6, 7 cars at least miss their pit stalls? How many miss it this time, now that we've actually been under green for a while?
Well, it's going to be even worse because they're all going to come down at speed, right? Last time you came down, 70 miles an hour? This time you're going to come down about 180 miles an hour. So obviously you'll be down to speed before you hit pit road, but that sense of speed is going to be in your head. It's going to be harder to kind of control that lead pedal, that lead foot of yours, coming off these racing conditions. Here we are out of turn 4 again. Everyone's going to wait till the last possible minute. They want to get just the least amount of time on pit road they can. Make sure they have, and you don't want to go down alone. That's the worst thing you can do, because if you don't have a draft team partner off a pit road and this thing stays green, you are just on an island all by yourself.
They are likely trying to gamble on there being a caution as well from behind them somewhere to try and get them out of this jam, right? Because you don't want to have to pit under green on a super speedway if you don't have to. It's a nerve-wracking thing to go through. If you can get a caution, that does make it a lot simpler. Almost got one there, but I think for now, this is going to be pretty much as is. You see DeWeese jump up top. He's going to now have Roberts behind him. He's got Perkins behind him trying to make moves. Kuna is also on the high lane. And then way in the back, you got Kuba trying to draft up to the back end as well. And now Frey jumps up top.
The other side.
Oh, there we go!
Hold on. There's Frey around it. Onto the. Nope, there it is. It's up top.
Big crash through the tri-oval this time by.
Everybody. Oh, man.
Huge pile up.
That might legitimately be...
I think it was.
Everybody.
Look at how much smoke there is some of these cars as well. There's Albertson. They're just getting up to speed. Yeah, every driver was collected in that. No one made it out of that clean.
I think the closest candidate, actually, Nolan, would be the 37. I don't think hits a single thing if we watch his onboard through the wreck. I think the 37 drives through this perfectly clean.
So Frey jumps up top, and Luis tries to go for the middle. Frey tried to block. Can't block twice. Cannot do that. Nope. Carl Edwards knows that personally with his tangles with Brad Keselowski. Talladega in 2009, but you cannot do that. And that one bad decision, everyone, maybe except the 37. Oh my good, that's a hard hit that the 77 just took into the inside wall there as well.
Yeah, so a couple of questions we'll have here is now remember I said earlier I wouldn't have used my fast repair. Well, now you know why, because there's some drivers wishing they had one. Yeah, but look at it again from the 37 if we can get back there and ride the onboard. He's going to miss the whole darn wreck. But the question I have is everyone going to make it around on fuel? I'm trying to watch the field or watching the replays to make sure that's going to happen. But if you're riding it close on fuel before, watch this 37. We'll come back to the fuel topic. You see the wreck's going to start to happen in front of me. He's just going to check it up a little bit. Check it up, check it up. Good, good. Going to miss a car right about here. Yep.
Smart move.
Comes down.
Did he get to the lead? No. But does he have any damage? Also no.
Yeah, there you go, right? And that may matter right now, yeah. So, looks like most cars have made it around here, by the way.
One more look, and this is again at
can't
speed.
Do that. And I say that, it's not meant to sound as critical as it does. And listen, we've all been in that moment where you think you're clear, and that's how fast that changes. So here we are back live. Here's pit road.
And pit stops coming in. Albertson, the first one down. And he's going to try to bring the field with him, but he's still got a lot of cars that are just limping off of turn 4. There's Rodney Roberts with no left front.
Now, some cars no left front. Some cars have a lot of damage. There's a 37, third in line on the pit road by not having any, damage. He's going to come out of here pretty well, I would assume, in this moment. So now we want to put new tires on it. They'll put gas in it. They'll take any fast repairs they need to take. And this will just be basically almost a brand new race as we have.
Kevin Frey stayed out.
I started saying a new leader, but no, you're right. Frey stayed out. That cannot be on purpose.
The car looks pretty clean. Did Frey make it out of this?
Even if he did, he has to get gas. We'll watch the replay though. No, Frey started. Frey was probably got bumped. That's got to be a mistake that he missed a note or something.
Heavy hit for DeWeese on the back end. Wow.
Oh, Frey actually pitted. Frey pitted under a closed pit. He's going to get moved to the back. He pitted his car was crab walking, so he pitted early. So he's going to fall to the back here for entering a closed pit. Yeah.
Jeez. Just look at that mess. And this was on board the pole sitter, Thomas Kunin.
watch this on board here. And watch how fast the wreck forms in Daytona. You're like, and you think, I got it, I'm safe. That's, nope, never mind, not safe. And that's how fast it moves. He did the right thing. He stayed up top. He thought that lane was going to stay open, and he was going to drive through it. Next thing you know, there's a car in the way. Well, here we go. So Deweese will be our new leader, Nolan. He will lead this field around. And there you go. There's the 37. Avoided a wreck, went from the back of the field to P2.
I don't think he's going to be complaining about that in the slightest. He's going to be having himself with a great drive as a result of that.
Well, here's the challenge everyone faces. We're going to call off the restart here and go another lap around at least. We'll be 9, 8, probably 7 to go when the green flag falls. Maybe, yeah, probably 7. It's hard to be patient now. It's hard to wait. It's hard not to make a move. It's hard to, you know, to wait. Because, I mean, 7 laps, if we stay green, is about a little less than 5 minutes of racing. That's how long you're going to get to make a move here. That's how long you're going to get to take the lead, keep the lead, or whatever it is you need to do. Now, there do have green-white checkers in this race if we need them. But, of course, any mistake here, we just saw one more mistake like we saw in the front of this field, Nolan, and the 37 might be the lonely car racing. Well, here we go. We're going to keep around here. Deweese is going to keep us at the lead here. Is. So it's Deweese, Raven, Coonan, Lee, and Roberts, your top 5. Man, it is hard to think all night long. Coonan has been in that picture of the lead. Maybe the most consistent driver, I would say, in some forms. Like, yeah, he moved the back and then moved back front. Would it be the leader? Would it be P3, P2, or drafting for the lead? Coonan has been in the picture all night long.
So we're going to get doubled up, and it looks like this restart has been waved off. So the lights will be back on, and we're going to be under the caution for one more lap here. 7 laps to go when we get back to the stripe. Do you think we're done yet?
No, unfortunately, I don't. I mean, as I said, now you have to be aggressive. You can't not be aggressive if you want to win this race. You have to make it happen. You can't wait for it to happen. So this is that time as a driver, and you have to lock in and do whatever you got to do to really be zoned in. You know, a lot of drivers, you know, early in the race, maybe have some headphones in. You'll have your favorite playlists going. You're kind of chatting in Discord with your buddies or your teammates or what have you. Now it's time that Discord goes silent. You pull the headphones out. Here under caution, hopefully you get one more big swig of water. Get a nice big deep breath in and say, okay, you know, I got this. I can do it. I'm good. Because this may be your only shot. I mean, listen, that's only our 2nd wreck in this feature race of 60 laps. We very well could go green for 7 laps and just put this to bed. Now, look here, though. The thing I noticed here, Nolan, because of all the cars that may be pitted under a closed, pit road under yellow or whatever penalties they have, look at the difference of the length of top lane, bottom lane. That is going to hurt the 3 cars up top. That's the 37, the 32, and I think the 54 Perkins in the back there in that Hershey machine. They're going to be hurting. They do not have balanced numbers. So either they're going to have to hope that someone comes up with them pretty quickly, or they need to find a way in the bottom lane, or they might just get swallowed up, you know, in that draft. That said, it's funny I say that. The driver chat has been quiet since lap 1. I've heard nothing. The 37 just said, hey, 32, don't leave me hanging.
Interesting. So he's hoping for help, but help might not come when you're 7 laps away from the end of a race. But pace car is off. We're back into the Geico restart zone. Green flag is back up in the air.
wanted help. He went into 32 to be a little closer in that restart. There's a bit of a gap there, so it'll take them a little longer to get wound up here. So let's see if these three drivers stick together.
So off of turn number 2, Braxton DeWeese holding on to the top spot. Ravens still trying to make moves as well. He is going to drop back to 5th. Just can't do much with that outside lane with just 2 cars. He's got 6 of them stacked up. Here we go. Roberts making the jump up top.
Yeah, Roberts there. Perkins there's a 4-car line. They can make him run here. Be patient. Stick to your guns. It'll come to you. Told you earlier, the reason the top lane typically falls apart is because people aren't patient. There's Coonan up top. He wants to lead, and at the line, I think he did. If that had been in the race, that would have been less than a 1/10 of a second between first and second.
And now looking up top as Rodney Roberts, trying to make another jump up top. I think might have tried to open up that 3rd lane with Coonan. Didn't quite pan out, though. Coonan blocked the run. So 2 lanes packed up about even in strength, top to bottom. But right now, looking like it's momentum up to the high side.
Right now, it is momentum to the high side, and I was kind of surprised. Coonan, I thought he was going to dip back down, honestly, and get back in front of DeWeese there on the backstretch, but he stuck up top, and now that bottom lane's getting back together. This is a beautiful run. 5 to go at the line here. 5 to go.
5 laps are left. DeWeese and Coonan all trying to jump in there and look up to the top lane of the racetrack, while Frey and Roberts are getting into the mix as well. Here comes the 37, trying for the middle. Raven turns him sideways off of turn number 2, crashing on the back straightaway, spinning to the inside.
No yellow. It's and all the inside of the track.
Nope, there it is. Raven and Albertson got the worst of it, and this puts us dangerously close to overtime.
This is definitely overtime right here. That's just a case where Roberts drifted up too high in that drafting lane. I told you got to stay in line, you got to stay center. And then I think he tried to get back in lane and just didn't know that 37 had taken a spot.
Tell you what, though. Oh, never mind. I thought he did a good job of keeping it off the inside wall, but he bodied that thing pretty big for the 37 entry.
'17, by the way, is reported he has some damage. He'll be nursing it around. He's got some kind of broken wheel issue in the car, so he'll nurse around. But you're right, 37 did a pretty darn good job. So did the 7 of not hitting anything. That's good news for those guys who have no fast repairs left. 37 will have some damage up front, probably right here. Watch this. The Bulldog car just wasn't clear. Right on board here. Watch this. And, oh, no, he did hit something. I thought maybe he got away from that pretty clean. But all things considered, if you want to hit a car, that's the way to do it. Hit it flat up against the wall. Probably did less damage that way. But yeah, Rodney just didn't know he wasn't clear probably and tried to get back in lane and felt he had to. He was going to start to lose speed and lose spots fast had he stayed up top. Watch it here from a different angle. We'll see up right there on the top right. Nowhere Milligan could go.
He did a good job to at least, he did hit things, but he didn't hit a lot of things. He is going to have to come down to pit road regardless. Might have been something in the angle that he caught those cars at, but unless the lights go out here, this will be overtime, and they do not. It is our first of 3 overtime attempts in the Daytona 200.
All right, well, here we go. As I said, this is where it all picks up, because now you know time is not on your side. If you're frankly, even as a leader for DeWeese, it's really not on your side, because it just takes one bad decision of when to jump this start, and you could be massively behind the 8-ball. And boy, oh boy, lots of cars having trouble, by the way. The 37, the 29, and the 17 all likely out of this race with mandatory repairs.
And not a good run for a few of these drivers, which is a big shame because we were hoping to see a good finish with all of these guys there at the end, but sooner or later, somebody's got to roll snake eyes at a place like this, and looking like we got our 4 right here on pit road. Aaron Lee is still in the fight. He is going to pick up the number 6 spot as a result. Perkins didn't come down. Kuna didn't come down. Milnes, Frey, and DeWeese all still in the fray. So we do still have a sizable field, and this finish is still up in the air as to who might take the win tonight.
And listen, there's cars on pit road right now getting repairs fixed. If they can get those cars mostly fixed up and they can keep a decent pace, who knows where you finish, right? We may not be done wrecking. We may not be done retiring cars. So we'll wait and see who can come around and make what happen. But right now, you said it's DeWeese, it's Frey, it's Milnes, it's Kunin. I mean, right now, you'd have to say in some ways the odds-on favorite is Kunin, just because of how much he's done, led or been possibly led this race tonight. But I mean, DeWeese has been up there, Frey's been up there. Of your top 5, I think Milnes has been maybe the quietest one in that Gatorade machine. Just hasn't really been up front as much. But the beautiful thing about racing, all these other laps, they don't really matter. What really matters is who leads the last lap. All right, well, let's see if the lights go out this time by. That should be 2 to go, so probably not. Let's see what we're going to get here. Oh, yeah, they are going to go out. So this is the beginning of our green-white checker. Come around here with 3 to go. So here's how it works, folks. You've never seen one before. Maybe your family or friend or someone in this race. We're going to go green. That we do know. One of 2 things are going to happen from there. Either we're going to go around the track again, back to the start-finish line. We'll take the white flag. If that happens, all bets are off. We're going to finish the race under racing conditions. If we don't make it to the white flag and another wreck happens or a caution flag comes out, we'll rack them up. We'll do it again up to 2 more times. So the goal for a lot of drivers is to get to that white flag. Then you can go up bananas with all those crazy moves because there's no caution. So that's the goal for everybody here. Smaller field, of course. Some cars are now knocked out of this race, Nolan, but lots of possibilities about how this thing could still end up. Well, here we are now. So I'll tell you, from a driver standpoint, if I'm DeWeese, what's in my head is I cannot jump this restart. Anytime the driver gets inside that Geico restart zone, they can go and they can control the start of this race. But the way a super speedway works is how the draft works. It means if you get out there and you jump that start early, that draft is then going to suck you up really fast with better momentum, better speed than you have, and you will literally get past very easily. So if you're DeWeese, Nolan, you have to be super careful not to jump this start.
Oh, absolutely. You have to be on the razor's edge margin of where you want to try to find yourself on this restart. You cannot overjump it. You can't just lay back either and let the outside leg get all the momentum. This is the delicate balancing act that decides races. 5 miles potentially, and 2 laps are left in racing action this afternoon. Green flag back in the air for the 4th time tonight. And Frey immediately going to try to cut down in line. Kunin hung out to dry on the top side. He might be able to get in between 3rd and 4th, and that, frankly, is in his best interest, so we can try to build some momentum.
Now, that's been the first time tonight we've seen Kunin not really be in control of his own destiny. He just got hung out to dry, but still trying to stay up there, hoping maybe someone will change their mind, and he does. Frey back to the top.
Frey jumps up to the top side, once again trying to gun it for the lead. The 84 and the 68, the 2 main pushers. DeWeese hanging on down low. Frey up top. Milnes, Kunin shoving them, but will this still be the order when we get off a turn 4 the next time by? White flag is in the air for the Daytona 200.
Ooh, a little bit of an off-center bump there, I thought. Here we are, white flag, all bets are off. So no more caution flags. Let's see if Kunin can push him around here.
Into turn numbers 1 and 2, this time by DeWeese, Frey, Milnes, Kunin. But here comes Albertson. Albertson's got to run, and so does Lee from the bottom side.
Yeah, we're now 3 cars apiece. So now it's a question of who makes the move where. You're almost 3 wide here. That car in the back up top wanted to get him run here. So it's really Frey and DeWeese leading the lines here out of into turn 3.
Frey up to the top side. Kunin can't lead on him enough. DeWeese pulls clear from down low. Milnes Milnes trying to get a drive going. Off the final corner. Coming to the stripe. DeWeese out in front. Pushed by Milnes. And Braxton DeWeese takes the win. And they're 3 wide for second behind him.
Well, that's a heck of a finish right there, Nolan. That was exciting.
And that will put one in the books. Holy cow.
I haven't seen that in a while.
Last time I saw that was the SRAIL Truck Series for their last season opener at Daytona.
I saw that was like real life Daytona like 10 years ago, I thought. My goodness.
Really? You saw that at real life Daytona?
Well, I was thinking of what's the wreck at the, was that 2015 Daytona where gosh, who was that?
Austin Dillon.
Who was Austin Dillon went up over 3 rows of cars.
Yeah.
That's what came to mind. Yeah.
I remember that. Boy,
that was a scary night.
No kidding. Thank goodness it's just a simulation. We're having some fun here. But Deweese's car, it was pristine. Not so much anymore, though. But he'll work his way off of turn numbers 3 and 4. He can proudly call himself the first ever winner of the Prodigy Racing Association Revlimit Workshop Pro Series. But the driver out of Miamisburg, Ohio, he'll burn it down in the Trial Bowl.
That's been another great win. It can go up on the Instagram account for Braxton DeWeese. Congrats to him for winning this race at Daytona. That always feels good. I don't care who you are, what car it is, how long you've been racing. Something a little bit more special about a win at Daytona.
Well, he's going to anger some lawn care folk out here with that move in the infield, but I feel like he's earned it. I mean, he had to work for that win tonight, and he pretty much played those last 2 laps to complete perfection.
Yep, just stuck to his guns, didn't move around, didn't try to be cute about it, made them do the work, and he survived.
With all that said and done, we can take a rundown of your official post-race results on this Friday afternoon. Taking a rundown top to bottom, it is Braxton DeWeese who will take home the race win. These are the qualifier results. Here are the main results this afternoon, with DeWeese taking the dub by 700ths over Nolan Milnes. Kevin Frey was in 3rd. Aaron Plee and Thomas Coonan then closed out the top 5.
Moving back is Cameron Albertson in P6 with Caden Perkins in P7 in the 54 in that Hershey machine. Then Shannon Milliken 4 laps down with Rodney Roberts 5 laps down. Jake Handlovic in that 37 was 5 laps down. And then last was Joey Kuba 12 laps down in P11.
With all of that said and done, we'll get the chance to give a chit-chat here to all the drivers that come home at the end of the night for the top 3 spots. It was a wild show that we had this afternoon, and we'll try to see if we can't get in touch with some of these drivers this afternoon. Well, let's kick it off first and foremost with Braxton DeWeese, as we will drag that number 8 car down into the broadcast booth. And Braxton, what a drive this afternoon. I mean, you had to work for it this afternoon. It comes down to overtime. Talk us how you gamed down those last 2 laps to take the dub this afternoon.
Yeah, man. Just trying to keep it out front, obviously, at the end, like we had it. I was there at the end in the lead, so, at that point, with that many laps to go, you want to keep it. So we were able to do that, which I was happy that we were able to do, and just try to find which lane was going to get the run. The 84 car, Nolan was pushing, pretty good on the bottom to where we could maintain. And I'm not too sure what happened to the outside lane in turn 3, but once I saw them go up and just kind of get disbobulated, if I even said that right, that I knew that we really just had to worry about Nolan behind, and he didn't really make any aggressive or evasive moves to try to get around me or anything there. We made just like a little block. He looked like he was going to go high a little bit and then came back down just a little bit. So we were able to counter that, and it was all clean, and we were able to all finish pretty clean there across the line. So that's all you can really ask for at the end there here in the Super Speedways.
I mean, overall, it was a solid race this afternoon. You did everything you had to do to get that job done. Talk us through what the big plans are for this championship going forward. Are you looking forward to already going for a title run, or are you just kind of taking it race by race?
You know, the goal is obviously to try to get a championship. Just heading into the season, looking towards that. I've seen that they have a trophy for the champion, so that's always a goal to try to get. And but like you said, race by race, you have to go race by race first to get yourself in the contention to run for a championship. So this is obviously a pretty good start, and then we'll move to Old Michigan, the Legacy Michigan, in 2 weeks. And just try to improve it there. And with it not being as many races, you got to be on top of your game and try to get as many points as you can to try to get comfortable. I mean, you can't really get comfortable, like I said, with how many races there are, but just trying to do the best you can and trying to get as many points, like I said. So that's what we're going to try to do next in a couple weeks, I should say, and at Michigan at the old track, and just like you said, race by race.
I wish you the best of luck then. 2 weeks from now, it's the legacy layout of Michigan International Speedway. We'll hopefully be talking to you again then 2 weeks from today.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be awesome. We'll obviously, well, not obviously, but we'll be having a different paint scheme. I kind of saw this at the beginning of the week and couldn't really get anything together. So we put this bright white red number 8 in Victory Lane, and in a couple weeks it's going to be white and blue Interstate Ford number 8. So going to be a little more colorful on the car, and hopefully we can have a good showing in that car as well, and the rest of the season. So hopefully we do pretty good.
Braxton DeWeese, the driver out of Miamisburg, Ohio, comes home number 1 this afternoon. We don't have any third place, it appears, this afternoon. So we'll bring down Nolan Milnes standing by with Derek Watson.
Nolan, you really powered that Gatorade machine up front when it mattered and came darn close to winning this race. Is there anything differently you think you could have done in retrospect?
It was tough. In my brain, I had a decision to make. The 32, I think it was, the black car, I got a call that he was to my inside. So I thought about going for that gap. Everything in me wanted to go for that gap to try and get down to the line, maybe, try and get to the leader. But my self-preservation kicked in, and I said, nah, I'm just going to stay middle, and see where I end up. And I'm content with P2, actually, so.
Does that desire for self-preservation come from the fact it's only an 8-race schedule and it really is, hard to have a bad race here?
Yeah, I think so. This is the first league I've ever been in, and so there is a little bit of an extra notion of caution and self-awareness when it comes to that. And then I think just because of the nature of the racing, it's like I don't want to crash. I've done enough iRacing races on super speedways to know that you can be running second, coming out of 4, and then you can finish 8th or 10th, and that sucks. So didn't want to do that.
So I saw a note here. You just started sim racing back in September.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that for a second. September, not that long ago, and you're already up here this good at super speed racing. Is it just hours of practicing it, or how did you get that good at holding a line in a draft?
Well, what's weird is I was just thinking about this. I think about this a lot. When I first got into iRacing ovals, I wasn't sure what I'd be good at. I kind of thought maybe 1.5 miles. So I can wrap my head around that a little bit. And, I'm decent at them. Short tracks and road courses, not so much. But I think what took me by surprise was that results-based driving. It was kind of good at super speedways, to my surprise. I didn't really know why. I just felt like I could kind of tell which line was going to be better. For example, I could tell the bottom was a little safer. I don't know if that's true at Talladega. I feel like you have to go to the outside there. But here, these cars, they got really, really loose if you hit, unless you were perfectly square. And so I just felt safer on the bottom the whole time. And I don't know if you saw, but from the last restart, before the green, white, checkered, I just stayed on that bottom line, basically. And that got me to the front. So I don't know. I have an intuition for it for some reason. So hopefully that sticks.
Now, the other thing that caught me a little bit by surprise, I saw in the notes here, you're a truck driver by trade, it says.
Yeah.
So it made me giggle a little bit. Here's a guy who drives for a living, and you want to come on, you want to drive some more?
Tell me about it. Trust me, I could have done this a long time ago, but I was like, can I really justify driving in my time off? And as it turns out, yes, I can. I enjoy it. So
Listen, well, great run tonight in P2 in the Gatorade machine, and we look forward to seeing you 2 weeks at Legacy, Michigan.
Yeah, me too. Thanks, guys. You guys are great on the broadcast, by the way. I was really impressed. We were talking about it in the race.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Yep. Take care, guys.
There you go, Nolan. There's live critiques from the drivers. There's something that I'll tell you what, that's why those guys are better than me. I couldn't race and watch you talk about race at the same time. I'm a single track mind kind of guy.
Most people are. Most people will come back to it after the fact, but it's always amusing whenever we get the chance to see some people popping into our YouTube chat. I've seen in the Fuelie sometimes, I'll have people literally typing in our chats under caution in the car, actively pays. It's like, stop texting while you're driving. We've talked about this in the High Tide Racing League. Excuse me, holy cow. It's come up
it's a tough skill. Yeah, it's a tough skill to do. Like and worse than that, it doesn't really happen in the broadcast, but we've both been in iRacing before when someone's like having full text conversations under green flag. How in the hell do you do that? I can't type like "thank you" under caution about maybe hitting a wall, and those guys are like writing out full books.
Different. They're just built different. It's all
I agree.
Answer for, but well, holy cow! I mean, that was a good race. Again, we talked about it, right? Only 11 cars. It's not the field size that PRA was hoping for when we enter today, but they put on a very good race. It was a phenomenal show tonight. You know, it had everything. It had aggression, it had thrills, it had spills, it had drama, it had everything you could have possibly hoped for from a season opener. And for only 11 cars, you could not ask for a better race than what we got this afternoon.
No, that's a great run. These guys should all be proud of themselves. Remember, if you want to get involved, 2 weeks from tonight, Legacy, Michigan. Scan that QR code at the top up here by the Green Flag TV logo, and I'll invite you right into the Discord. All the info is there. You can get some assistance and get to be part of this league.
And of course, coming on up as well on Green Flag TV, tomorrow night, it's kickoff night for the SRA IEL Truck Series. It's season number 7 on Saturday nights. They'll be swinging on out, same place, same time at Daytona International Speedway. And then on Monday night, the High Tide Racing League swings down to Kansas. It's the last race of the regular series season. A 3-way fight for the final bump spot to see who makes it into the round of 12 of the playoffs. OMSRL returns to regular weekly action on Tuesdays. They'll be back in Miami for Homestead Miami Speedway in race number 2 with the Beer League. Swinging out to Lexington, Ohio. They'll stay in North America for now as they'll go racing at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course on Wednesday night. For now, that's all the time we got for one afternoon. Once again, thank you everybody for taking the time to come along and join us for what was some awesome racing action here on Friday nights. And, well, if you want to find out more about who we are, what we can offer you, you can check us out today at www.greenflagtv.com. My name's Lorenzo, alongside Derek Watson. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you all next week, 2 weeks, when we go racing in Michigan.